So I was having a conversation with a guy in church, and somehow we entered the submission conversation. Mind you, it was during a one of those relationship couple services. So of course, everybody has an idea. Everybody's a relationship coach, a marriage counselor, yada yada yada. And this guy said something. He said that I don't seem submissive. Apparently, I have too much to say. Apparently, I don't keep my opinions to myself. That I don't seem like someone who accepts correction. I don't seem like someone who apologizes. And then he said that, thing that people used to throw around during this type of conversations, that men don't like women who won't submit. First of all, when people say men, I always laugh because who is this global committee of men holding meetings about women with opinions? But jokes aside, the conversation made me think deeply about submission as one of those topics people discuss with so much confidence and so little nuance. A lot of people define submission differently. Some people hear respect, some hear partnership, silence, obedience, shrinking, and disappearing. And honestly, I think many people are not reacting to submission itself, but to the unhealthy versions of it they've seen. Because if your first example of submission was watching women constantly silenced, dismissed, cheated on, overruled, emotionally abandoned, and still expected to smile through it because the man is the head, of course you will struggle with this conversation. Because that is not partnership, that is survival. And let me say this clearly, because before somebody come and starts typing scriptures, I'm not against submission. I believe in respect. I believe in partnership. I believe in supporting your partner. I believe in allowing a man lead. But leadership and control, they're not the same thing. And that was my issue during that conversation. Because some people talk about submission as if a woman stops being a full human being once she enters a relationship. She should no longer think critically. She cannot contribute. She cannot question things and not have a perspective. She's just supposed to smile and nod and say yes, dear, while nonsense is happening around her. That is not wisdom. That is performance. And I think what people struggle to understand is that being opinionated is not the same as being disrespectful. I'm a human being. I have a mind, right? I have opinions. I think, I observe, I process, I ask questions, I contribute. That should be normal. In fact, it is normal. If two intelligent adults are building a life together, why should only one person's voice dominate the relationship? It makes no sense to me. And I noticed something during that conversation too, that at the moment people hear a woman explain herself, they immediately label her defensive. Meanwhile, she's simply communicating. There's a difference. Now, do I think there are women who struggle with correction? Absolutely. Do I think there are women who turn every disagreement into a battle? Yes. Do I think pride exists in women? Of course. But I also think some men actually, interpret any resistance, disagreement, or contribution from a woman as rebellion. And that is dangerous because submission becomes less about love and more about control. The truth is, elder leadership creates safety, and people naturally soften where they feel safe. I said something during that conversation that I still stand by. I would submit more easily to a man who makes me feel safe, heard, protected, emotionally secure, and confident in his leadership. Not a man who moves recklessly and expects silence in return. So I have this friend who is, is a coconut, is hard on the outside, soft on the inside. And there was a day we were having a conversation, and I was like, to me, you are always on the edge. Uncle, you always put me on the edge. But there was a time that I was around him, and I was just soft and more, I was soft around the edges. He picked on his. I was like, that's because this whole time I've been around you, I feel a bit safer. So, I feel more secure. Does not mean that I hate you. Doesn't mean, but the way you present yourself to me would determine how I would react to you. Some people want authority without accountability. They want to lead, but it's being questioned. They want respect, but they refuse self-awareness. They want obedience, but they reject emotional maturity. And that is not leadership. Because leadership does not mean you are the boss. It means you do the things that you also expect other people to do. You lead by example. You are not there being a dictator, giving commands, and no, you are also doing that thing. You are showing that you can also do that thing. You are showing how the thing should be done. A leader should be teachable. And I think church conversations sometimes skip over that part. We spend so much time telling women to submit that we barely talk about the kind of men women are being asked to submit to. Because submission sounds beautiful until the man is emotionally unstable, impulsive, dismissive, arrogant, dishonest, or irresponsible. Now, suddenly, people want women to pray about it by carrying the entire relationship on their back. No. Okay, I think I'm being a little aggressive. Sorry, I reduced my voice. A healthy relationship should allow both people breathe. And another thing I've realized is some women have become overly guarded because they have seen submission weaponized. They have watched women lose themselves trying to prove that they are good wives. So now they overcompensate. Everything becomes, I don't need a man. Everything becomes hyper-independence. Everything becomes emotional walls and resistance. And honestly, I get it. But I also think there should be a balance. Because being expressive should not become disrespect. Being independent should not mean emotional isolation. And having standards should not mean you become rigid. And submission should not require self-erasure. And I think that's the balance that people are struggling to find. Because to me, relationships are partnerships. It's not a dictatorship. It's not a competition. And it is definitely not a power struggle. Partnership. And partnerships require mutual respect. Not one person shrinking while the other expands. So after the conversation, I did reflect on myself too, because self-awareness matters. And I realized that, am I dismissive sometimes? Yes, maybe. Do I disengage when the conversations are unintelligent or draining me? Definitely. Do I struggle with a certain tone of correction? Yeah, I do. And I think everybody should have the emotional maturity to ask themselves difficult questions instead of immediately becoming defensive. But I also refuse to believe that having a voice makes a woman less lovable. A secure man is not intimidated by a woman who thinks. He pays attention to how she communicates, how she respects him, how she handles conflict, how teachable she is, how emotionally mature she is. Not whether she acts silent all the times. Because silence is not automatically peace. Sometimes silence is fear, silence is exhaustion, silence is suppression sometimes. And honestly, I do not want a relationship where one person becomes smaller so the other person feels bigger. It doesn't sound healthy to me. I want something built on wisdom, on trust, emotional safety, accountability, respect, attraction, honesty, friendship, and mutual growth. I want a place where people feel heard, people apologize, they remain teachable, where leadership can exist without oppression, where love exists without fear. Because at the end of the day, submission without safety becomes fear, and partnership without respect is just rubbish. It's chaos. The goal is balance. So I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.